Recognize the Vice Chair of the committee, Mr. Lalota from New York.
Thank you, Chairman. Director, good to be with you today. You're the Director of the Office of Management and Budget, is that correct?
Correct.
And you've previously served in that capacity in 2020 and 2021?
In 2019 and 2020,
Went through January 2021?
I did.
Okay. And you're the Executive Branch's Chief Financial Planner and Policy Coordinator. Is that a fair description of your title?
I think that's fair.
Okay.
Along with the Secretary of Treasury.
Great. And in that role, how important is America's debt and deficit to you?
Huge.
Sir?
I mean, we have an enormous problem ahead of us with regard to the debt that we're facing as a country. It's hanging over us. It's causing massive interest costs each and every year to keep growing, and the impact that it can suddenly cause much worse situation than we've seen thus far is still always out there as a possibility. It's one of the reasons we have to pass this bill to be able to begin to get a handle on the spending that has been on autopilot. That
We're going to get into that, sir.
members have been calling attention
About
to.
37 trillion, is that about right?
Yes.
And the deficit is about what?
$2 trillion and somewhere between 1.5 and $2 trillion.
And the debt to GDP ratio, pretty bad, right?
Yep.
Worse since World War II?
Yep.
And what if we do nothing? What if Congress sits on its hands, the executive branch does nothing? What if we just do the status quo? What happens with respect to interest rates, opportunity, buying power of the dollar, opportunity for future generations? What happens to all that if we do nothing?
It will all get worse, and we will continue to have issues with credit agencies. And one of the reasons why Moody's was late to the party, but the original credit ratings were drawing attention to the futility that this town had with the inability to ever pass anything of substance. And I think that what has changed with the bill that you all are considering right now through Congress.
And I agree with you. Reconciliation is a start of something that we have to do to put our country on a better track, to give more opportunity to the future generations. I want to switch gears just a little bit, but get back to that point in a moment. In your experience, scores, predictions by the CBO, JCT, how have they been, sir?
Not accurate.
Thinking back to the first Trump administration and President Trump's 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, how would you rate the estimates by the CBO and JCT?
They did not do a good job of rating it accurately, and you know they didn't think we'd ever get to 3% growth. We did. They were off in their revenue assumptions, but ultimately that's par for the course. I mean, they don't think through dynamic assumptions with regard to their revenue policies.
And about how much in revenue were they off by? Do you remember?
I don't have it at my fingertips. I think
1.5 trillion?
That's about right.
Only 1.5 trillion. Are you familiar with CBO's work when they scored the American Rescue Plan?
I am, but happy to be informed more on it.
Accurate or not accurate?
If you've got a question there, I'm happy to answer it, but off the
Sure.
top of my head.
I'll lead you a little bit with this question. They projected inflation would be around 3.3% in 2021 and 2.5 in 2022 and 2.3 in 2024. Take a guess. Was it higher or lower than the projections, the inflation?
I'm sure that it served the administration's policy objectives.
Yeah, 4.78% and 4.1% respectively, way off, but yes, favorable to that administration. And now, fast forward, we have this one big, beautiful bill before us that the House Republicans we passed last week, and we've received some new scores over the last day or so. And are you familiar with the CBO score on the growth rate they project in the one big, beautiful bill?
It's about 2%.
Yeah, 1.8. Do you believe that it is an accurate enough growth rate given some of the historical context between TCJA1? Much of the same policies in TCJA1 led to 2%, 3%, and 4% growth, and yet they're scoring in this 1.8.
No, I don't think they're accurate. I don't think it's reflective of the growth. I think it's much more likely, and we'll get to our economic assumptions when we come later with more details from our fuller budget. But the budget resolution that you all passed, $2.5 trillion, I think the number there was 2.7, is much more accurate in terms of a number that should flow from the policies in the bill.
Great. I would agree. 2.6% is, I think, what the House Budget Committee put forth. I think that's a better estimate. Would you agree that assuming only the 1.8% CBO number both underestimates the positive impact of the legislation and simultaneously overestimates the negative impacts like deficit projections?
Yes. But I would go further. I think the challenge with the CBO score is the way they construct the baseline is they are asking policymakers who care about the debt and deficits to almost take the position that you shouldn't extend the tax relief. And then they don't model the extent to which that would implode the economy.
Yeah.
Like, there's dynamics, assumptions with regard to tax policies and economic growth, and then there should also be an area where they model the economic impacts of their own baseline policies.
The chair now recognizes Mr.